Another story for the day. Do subscribe the channel. Key Provisions and Challenges of Forest Rights Act, 2006. The National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, NCST, has issued a notice to district authorities in Andaman and Nicobar Islands on grounds that the Great Nicobar Island, GNI, project violated norms under the Forest Rights Act, FRA, 2006. About the Forest Rights Act, 2006. The Forest Rights Act, 2006, also known as the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers, Recognition of Forest Rights, Act, is a landmark legislation in India that seeks to recognize and vest forest rights and occupation in forest land in forest-dwelling scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. The Act aims to rectify historical injustices done to forest-dwelling communities and recognize their role in forest conservation. Important provisions of the Act and their impact. FRA, enacted in 2006, recognizes the rights of forest-dwelling tribal communities, FDST, and other traditional forest dwellers, OTFD, to forest resources on which these communities were dependent for a variety of needs, including livelihood, habitation and other sociocultural needs. It recognizes and vests the forest rights and occupation FDST and OTFD who have been residing in such forests for generations. It strengthens the conservation regime of the forests while ensuring livelihood and food security of the FDST and OTFD. The Gram Sabha is the authority to initiate the process for determining the nature and extent of individual forest rights, IFR, or community forest rights, CFR, or both that may be given to FDST and OTFD. Rights under the Forest Rights Act. Title Rights. It gives FDST and OTFD the right to ownership to land farmed by tribals or forest dwellers subject to a maximum of 4 hectares. Ownership is only for land that is actually being cultivated by the concerned family and no new lands will be granted. Use rights. The rights of the dwellers extend to extracting minor forest produce, grazing areas. Relief and development rights. To rehabilitate in case of illegal eviction or forced displacement and to basic amenities, subject to restrictions for forest protection. Forest management rights. It includes the right to protect, regenerate or conserve or manage any community forest resource which they have been traditionally protecting and conserving for sustainable use. Challenges. Administrative apathy. Implementation of the Act remains the biggest challenge as acts related to the environment are not entirely compliant with the law. Illegal encroachments have happened as much as that claims have been unfairly rejected. As tribals are not a big vote bank in most states, governments find it convenient to subvert FRA or not bother about it at all in favor of monetary gains. Lack of awareness. Unawareness at the lower level of forest officials who are supposed to help process forest rights claims is high and majority of the aggrieved population too remains in the dark regarding their rights. The forest bureaucracy has misinterpreted the FRA as an instrument to regularize encroachment instead of a welfare measure for tribals. Dilution of Act. Certain sections of environmentalists raise the concern that FRA bend more in the favor of individual rights, giving lesser scope for community rights. Community rights effectively gives the local people the control over forest resources, which remains a significant portion of forest revenue, making states wary of vesting forest rights to Gram Sabha. Reluctance of the forest bureaucracy to give up control. There has been deliberate sabotage by the forest bureaucracy, both at the center and the states, and to some extent by big corporates. The forest bureaucracy fears that it will lose the enormous power over land and people that it currently enjoys, while the corporates fear they may lose the cheap access to valuable natural resources. Institutional roadblock. Rough maps of community and individual claims are prepared by Gram Sabha, which at times often lack technical know-how and suffers from educational incapacity. Intensive process of documenting communities' claims under the FRA makes the process both cumbersome and harrowing for illiterate tribals.